Hey y'all, Wild Rally back again with another quick video. This one's about burling. If you ever thought you want to do some burling, this one's for you. You can collect burls for making different items. This one's a handle grip made from manzanita. Nice little knots in it and stuff, but you want to look for burl that's not super cracked. Finding a good consistent piece. You can use burls for making pipes, and not a bad thing to have. This one's actually a deer antler, but a good example of what you can make with burl. Doesn't have to be burl. It could be a hardwood, canes. And this is something that my kind of fathers have taught me. My dad and grandfather used to make a lot of stuff with burl. My dad still does. And part of it's collecting it. So you want to be able to go out into the mountains, out somewhere where there's hardwood, and collect that wood. A big part of it is just opening up your creativity, thinking about just what you could do with an open mind when you come across something. So some of the pieces I found just today, this is a manzanita, and that's all burl on it. And the trick with manzanita is it likes to check really bad. It gets these big cracks running through it, and then you can't make knife handles if they're split. Pipes will leak, things like that. So you want a nice consistent piece all the way through. And one way to do it is to find a dead piece that's huge, cut it, and then isolate portions of it that don't have any cracks. Another way is what I found more handy is I'm looking for a piece that's partially dried. So the branch is in the process of dying off. The overall bush might be in good health, but the branch is dying off. And you can see right in here, there's a little crack starting on the dry side. Also, see if we can get some water on this. You'll see why I like manzanita. Manzanita is Spanish for little apple. Our ancestors discovered it, thought it was some kind of wild apple, I think is how it went. But it has these real rich colors that transition from pink to orange to red. It's really lava-like. They make really nice canes. This one's more of a golden one. This one was already completely dried and just varnished. And I've taken this old cane miles and miles, hike all kinds of hikes. It's a little beat up. Some of the tools you're gonna need for burling is you're gonna need some kind of folding saw that's portable. You can just this rides in my back pocket. A soft wire brush. You want to be aware that there's yellow jackets, ticks, things like that, and I'll get into that later, but I've stepped on yellow jacket nests or tried to collect a piece of wood with a yellow jacket's nest in the middle of the burl, and needless to say I got stung pretty good. So once you have your burl collected and you have it completely processed, you're going to hang it like this one behind me where it has shade but it's in the breeze and it can slowly cure. And kind of what we're going to do is just take this wire brush. It's kind of a soft wire brush with dexterity. I'm going to get all these little flakes off of it. Back when I lived up in the Santa Cruz Mountains on my grandfather's land, my dad, this was back in the late 90s and early 2000s, my dad would run the generator and then fall asleep, and then the generator was running all night. So if it was keeping me up and didn't look like anyone was awake, I'd get up and turn the generator off. And up in that region of the Santa Cruz Mountains, there's these big cannonball rocks that are perfectly round, cretified rocks that would well up out of the ground. And there's one about the size of a bowling ball sticking out of the driveway. So when I was crossing from where I was sleeping to where he was keeping his generator, I stubbed my toe right across that cannonball rock. I was kind of walking by the moonlight and peeled the skin right off the bottom of my toe. Ooh, that was bad. Real bad, but I was really tired and I wrapped a sock around my toe and went back to bed. Made it stop bleeding and went back to sleep. And the next morning I got up to a really sore toe and started putting hydrogen peroxide on it, kind of pressing it all back together, got it to start healing, and then I limped out into the woods. Found a manzanita bush. Found a good cane, because up there everything's steep and I wanted a little bit of stability. I was limping around on my heel. And started sawing on a manzanita stick, cutting it off the tree or the bush. And I started feeling like there's contention in the air. Still ignoring it. And pretty soon, bing, bing, ah! Started running to save my life. Left the saw on the tree, left half my clothes down the hillside. My brother was there too. He started running. My long lost brother Gary. And he's like, dang, that was pretty messed up. And bing, it got him right in the butt. And he took off running again. And needless to say, we never got that stick. And I didn't know I could move so fast with a stubbed toe through the brush down the hillside. But boy, when you're motivated, you can move pretty quick. So you can see here, the burl's now exposed. It's not all flaky. It's exposed. And I can see where all the little cracks are in it. Some of the little minor cracks are developing. I'm trying to pick through all this brush. Or all this scale on this bark. And what this will probably be is a really high-end pipe. I'm going to try to make a really, really nice manzanita burl pipe. Maybe probably a couple of them, actually. I've got some people that would, in my life, that would really appreciate something nice like that. Kind of cherish it when they're smoking whatever their favorite smoke is. And we're just going to keep on kind of filing on this guy, sanding on it, scrubbing it with this wire brush. One time my dad and I were out burling, same place, kind of out in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And back east they call it not deer. When you think you see a deer and it's really not a deer. Out here in the west we call it a near deer. So we're out there kind of scrounging around in the brush looking for good manzanita, looking for rattlesnakes, kind of foraging around. My dad goes, hey, is that a deer? And it wasn't a deer. It was a manzanita stick that was right in front of his eye. When he leaned forward, got him right in the eyeball. Yeah, he pulls off and the manzanita stick snapped off in his eye. And he's freaking out. Pull it out, Chris, pull it out. So, okay, let me see what I can do. And I was pretty nervous too because I didn't want to cause him any more eye damage. And I was kind of reacting to his reaction, which is complete and total terror. And reaching in there to pull it, slaps my hand out of the way. get out of here, I'll do it. Because I guess it's kind of like when I got stung in the eye by a bee, you can kind of see it sticking out of your eye, and he plucked it out. Let's go back. So we went back to our camp. The knot deer got him that time. And it was in the summer, and the mosquitoes are really, really bad. And we bought this big can of DEET from Big Five. A big green can. Back then it was like 100% DEET. You could just spray this nasty chemical all over you. And you're only supposed to do a little bit here and like on your sleeves and around your collar, maybe on your hat. Well, he drenched himself in DEET because he was just sick of getting bit by mosquitoes. He was miserable. His eyeball got poked out. But he was shaking up this can and it wasn't spraying. And he was fiddling with it. And he took off the cap and was looking at it. And he turned to see if it would spray, and it squirted DEET right in the same eye where he poked it out with a stick earlier. That was worse than the first event. Poor guy. Little Grandpa Riley. What's worse than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick? Spraying 100% DEET in the eye that you just poked out with a sharp stick. So learn that lesson. And then to boot, it started raining. Kind of a late summer monsoon. This is raining, raining, raining. Mosquitoes everywhere. All our gear is getting wet. And so it was cold. It was starting to get cold, and he got in his sleeping bag, all covered in DEET. And then his body had an allergic reaction to it or something. He got really sick. And he had to get out of his sleeping bag and go wash his body off, and his sleeping bag was all smelling like DEET. I think he sprayed his sleeping bag too. He was just over those mosquitoes. And after that, I didn't use as much DEET anymore when I saw how sick it made him. Really messed him up. So I'll bring mesh. I usually bring a beekeeper's veil, wear a hat like this, and that'll keep them off my face. And then I like to bring parka gear out into the mountains. And then if I can't find a herb that's good for, because some plants around here are good for mosquitoes. Like California bay laurel works really good. And that's the best one. It's real astringent, volatile oils in it. And they protect you from the mosquitoes for about an hour or two. It's not great, but it's better than nothing. And if I do apply it, though, it's how you're supposed to. Just a couple of dots here and there. I might dab a little bit on my hand and kind of put a light coating just to kind of ward them off. It's something that I can wash off pretty easy. I don't want it to soak into my pores, get into my bloodstream like my poor dad did. It's pretty messed up. So there we are. This is pretty clean. Got all the little flaky bark off of it. Got all these little nodules exposed. It's already dried out after I dampened it to show you the color. And so I don't want this to dry out fast. When I cure big slabs of wood, table slabs and stuff, when I mill them, I try to cure it at about 1 inch per year. So this piece might take up to a year to cure. It might take a little bit less. There's a little crack I can see forming right in the center there. I think just after I cut it. So it's already, moisture's escaping, and then the wood is shrinking. And that's not what we want. So I'm gonna set that down. And now what we're gonna do, get some clean water in here. doesn't take a lot. Just a little bit at the bottom. And I'm gonna get some, this is the original wood glue. It's water soluble. If you can get a hold of some that's good for food quality stuff like cutting boards and it's not gonna mess you up, that's best. But anyway, I'm not using so much the outer edge. I'm going to be using the inner core. I'm just wanting to slow down the rate that it hardens. I'm just going to stir, and I'm diluting this wood glue and making like a wood glue wash. Add a little bit more, thicken it up just a little bit. This stuff's pretty cheap, so I'm just going to use a good helping of it. Kind of stir it in, create this wash. That's a little better. And it's going to kind of bead off and run onto the ground. That's okay. I'm going to use that wash. First thing I'm going to hit is right here on the ends. And then I'm going to go down all over these burls, all over everything. Definitely want to get it in the cracks, anywhere where you see cracks forming. I want to stop that cracking from continuing. I want to stop it in its tracks. While you're doing these projects too, it's always nice to have a little something, you know, your nice favorite smoke. If that's what you do, pick your poison. Nice lead crystal glass with some homebrew. This one's cherry wine. I don't really drink much like I used to, but I'll still enjoy a little sip of some aged homebrew. It's actually better now. You can appreciate a little bit more. Letting it age. Busting out a couple-year-old bottle of something that I forgot about. Like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. And this is just going to take several coats. It's going to absorb it. It's going to dry out. And this is what prosperity looks like, you know? It's having a moment when you can find something from the wild and sort of glorify it in its beauty. It's not always pulling the plowshare, which is also an enjoyable thing. I like to garden and farm and beekeep, and it's a lot of work, and it gets kind of tiring, but once in a while it's good just to go out bushwhacking, looking for something cool, looking for some different burls. And this is today's Riley taking care of next year, or the year after's Riley. Because one day I'll walk by and look at this burl that's been aging. I'll tap on it, might score it with a file or a knife and check its hardness. See how dry the wood is, or how green it is. I'll be like, okay, it's time. While I'm waiting for that to cure, I'll get started cleaning the garage. It'll take a year. It's already pretty clean. It needs organization. And The garage is one of those places, I'm sure you know how it is, where it takes the brunt of the punishment. You clean your house and things don't have a home. Well, they go in the garage. And where my garage is situated, our house is facing kind of to the southwest, and it gets full sun exposure over there, so the garage gets nice and hot. Which is why I have the burls hanging in this gentleman's lounge here. Actually, can't quite see it with the reflection, but it's a real beautiful wood. There's black stripes running through it. And I'm excited about some of these patterns in the burl, especially where they transition from burl to straight grain. I really like how that looks when it's all said and done. A little bit of wash up here on this top piece. Now that it's dried out a little bit, I want it to soak that glue right in. Seal that dude right up. We can't be having big cracks running through this now that we've harvested the peas. It's gonna be sealed. I don't like to collect a whole lot at the same time. I like to go out and pick 1 or 2 pieces with intention. And then I like to go out and do it again once I've processed the first piece. I don't want to be greedy. And also, your inspiration, it changes depending on the day, and I might miss a lot of stuff and then get a bunch of stuff from one type of inspiration, a lot of good pieces of wood. But one thing I was looking for was one of these that was forked, like a slingshot. I was looking for different characteristics, like I was looking for a cane. But the way my mind works, I don't have that total open inspiration for every possibility all the time. So on this excursion, little foraging excursion, I was looking for specifically knotty burl and continuous partially cured hardwood, mainly for pipe making. And that's what I found. And I'm sure I missed a whole bunch of good pieces along the way. And that's a special skill, is having that open mind while you're foraging and kind of seeing the different options and possibilities, and then ethically, being ethical about harvesting it too, and them going for dying branches and kind of clearing little routes around, just enough for a deer to squeeze through. If it catches on fire, the whole place is gonna burn up anyway, it'll be gone. But I'm not trying to hack the forest down and take all the really good pieces and leave nothing out there for the future. If I see a piece and I can kind of salvage it and highlight its beauty, I'm going to do that instead. So I think we got pretty much this whole thing coated pretty good, and I'm just trying to fill in these little cracks here and there. Now that I scrubbed all the bark off of it, I can see these cracks really well. I can find them and fill them in. Putting an extra heavy layer on this burl and multiple layers on the ends. And it's starting to tack up. My fingers are getting really sticky. Beekeeper's favorite thing, right? Getting sticky. Not my favorite thing. Cool. Now that this burl's pretty well sealed, I'm going to set it in the shade. Eventually I'm going to hang it up next to that one. Kind of looks like an old deer leg or something. I'm going to hang it up, let it cure. And hopefully someday we'll get to starting on the project. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed some of the stories, and if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Maybe we'll do it again sometime. Talk to you later. Wild Riley out.